While I'm waiting for my limited edition Lord of the Rings to arrive, it got me thinking, why am I spending all this money on nice books? And make no mistake, I've spent a lot of money on nice books. But this video isn't about showing off my nice books. I mean, it's a little bit about that, I guess. No, it's about whether it's worth it to get them. Now, we'll tackle the question today from a few different angles and hopefully help you answer it for yourself. So the next time you're looking at that shiny, leather-bound special edition of whatever, should you get it? Well, first of all, let's address the cost head on. Yes, you can end up spending a lot on these books, and it's easy to see it as a frivolous expense. I mean, they're books for heaven's sake. But hang on a second. Books are a hobby, maybe even a way of life. And in that way, it's no different than any other hobby, right? So sports fans love supporting their team. Maybe they go to the games live. Or what better way to support your team than with a nice jersey for $385? Okay, so sports can get expensive, but how about something else like live music or food? Or, no, craft beer? Travel? All right, I think I've made my point here. If books are your hobby, your passion, then there's nothing wrong, I say, with indulging in that passion. Now, obviously, there's a line where too much is too much, but that'll be different for every person and every budget. So you'll have to decide that for yourself. Point is, next time someone gives you a look for buying that amazing book, just ask them what their passion is. Unless they tell you that their passion is watching Pluto TV all day, there's a good chance your simple, though gentle, rejoinder could be, and how much does that cost you? So yeah, it's okay to spend some money. But how do you decide where that money goes? If this book is $100 and you could get 10 paperbacks for that price, why wouldn't you just do that? Well, some people do go for the paperbacks, and that's fine. If it's really just about the content, then that's fine, but sometimes it's about the books. So here are my reasons for indulging in those sweet, sweet, pricey, limited leather editions. Well, first of all, there's the nostalgic value. In that way, this is a lot like the jersey we looked at earlier, where, yeah, this is a great way to support your favorite author or to show how much you love a story, even if it's just to yourself, right? So you're not going to do this for a book you don't know and love necessarily. At least I wouldn't recommend it. And then there's the archival value. So this is a bit like Isildur keeping the ring as an heirloom for his kingdom, right? So these are my one ring, and they are precious to me. This is, to some extent, for my kids and my grandkids as much as it is for me, right? These things are going to be around for a long time. And that brings me to another point, which is that these are really well-bound books. At least most of the time. Now, I'm looking here at a bunch of Brandon Sanderson versions. I've also got a Terry Brooks one up top, and we'll talk about the differences here in just a moment. But as a general rule, these are expensive books because they've spent a lot of money to make them. And because of that, not only are they going to last longer, they actually read better. Now, that may not be something that you actually care about. Maybe you prefer to have a tiny little pocket paperback to carry around with you. But I can tell you that the last time I read Elantris, I read the paperback for about half of it, switched over to this leather-bound edition, and the difference was night and day. The type is better and it's bigger. You have better and bigger margins. The weight of the paper is more substantial. The ink on there is more substantial. You've got two-tone ink and illustrated drop caps in Warbreaker. You know, really, really great stuff. And it does make it more of a pleasure to read. In fact, that's why The Way of Kings had to be split into 2 volumes. I mean, you maybe could do it in 1 volume, but they would have had to sacrifice on that paper, on the margins, on the size of the type, etc., etc. So it wouldn't have been as much of a pleasure to actually go and read. And lastly is the shelf appeal. They simply look great. They look great on the shelf, and they are a pleasure to own, to look at, to know that they are yours, and to show to other people, and to brag about, you know, this series that you love and try to get them to read it. Wow, you must really love it. You have all these leather-bound editions of it. Whatever. Shelf appeal, real thing. So, in my opinion, yes, these are worth it. If it's in your wheelhouse, if this is your hobby, your passion, you love reading, not just reading, but you love the books themselves, then yes, it is going to be worth it if you're sticking within your budget to buy the really nice versions, if they're done right. when you see an author advertise these books, there are some things to look for to know if what you're getting is going to be worth that, say, $100 that a lot of these leather-bound editions go for. So I've got the Elfstones of Shannara, Terry Brooks here. Let's compare that with the Way of Kings. We'll pull out one of these volumes here to compare with. So there's a few things to look at. First of all, the Shannara edition is bonded leather as opposed to the true real leather of the Way of Kings edition. Now, that is not a deal breaker. The rest of the Dragonsteel, the Brandon Sanderson books, the rest of those are bonded leather as well. What does that mean? It's a bit like how gold foil or gold leaf is technically gold. It's just pounded so thin that it goes a long, long way, right? So it is technically leather, but bonded leather is like a veneer of leather, right? As opposed to the thicker, true leather that you get with this Way of Kings edition. Next up is the binding. You want to find out how they bound it. Most of the time what you're looking for is Smith sewn pages, which means I can do this without any fear of it breaking. You can see the spine is holding together just fine. There's no cracking, nothing going on like that, because it's sewn together, not glued together like you would get with some other books. You can also spot some other cost-cutting measures that these books go through, like there's no gilded edges on these pages, the illustrations are in black and white, and they are not very well done, if I'm being honest. I mean, the illustrations are fine, I'm saying they're not very well printed, they're super dark. And I don't mean to pick on the Terry Brooks folks who put this book together. I'm still glad that I have it. I just, I didn't finish buying the trilogy because when I got this one, I was a little bit disappointed. The Sanderson folks, on the other hand, they put a lot of care, a lot of love into these, so they're easily worth that $100. But you can contrast that with some other hardbacks out there, like take Harry Potter for instance. So this is the original British binding of Harry Potter. This one makes me much more nervous because this spine is glued, it is not sewn, which means that eventually the pages are going to start falling out of here. Which reminds me, we should probably talk about the pages themselves. The paper in here, acid-free, which means that they won't disintegrate so quickly, right? Okay, give them a few hundred years and you might have some trouble, but they're going to last a long, long time. Cheap hardbacks, and especially paperbacks, do not print on acid-free paper generally. And so they are, in fact, this Harry Potter edition, not that old, I got it in 2007, and it is already starting to yellow, these pages, with age. So yeah, there are great reasons to fork out for a book that you really care about, that you want to last for a long time, that you're excited to share in the future, you know, with your family, your friends, whatever, future generations. These books are gonna last a long, long time. These ones, not so much. But even if there weren't such great reasons, sometimes ultimately it's just the sports jersey effect, right? You want to support your favorite author, you love the series that they wrote, you know, you want to have that on your shelf so you can remind yourself every day of how much you love that thing. That's a perfectly valid reason as well. I'm sure there are other reasons why it's worth it or not to buy these books. So hit the comments, let me know. I would love to hear your opinions on it as well. As always, if you enjoy the video, if you enjoy this channel, then like and subscribe. Thanks so much for coming by. And thank you to the patrons for putting up with our shenanigans around here. So we'll see you next time.